Hey there guys, welcome back to another awesome video, and today's movie review is going to be of Rebirth of Mothra 3. So Rebirth of Mothra 3 is the third installment of the Rebirth of Mothra franchise, because there were like 3 or 4 Mothra movies that existed that were kind of like, I like to think of them as spin-offs, kind of, even though they weren't really spin-offs, I don't know. But all I know is that Japan was like, hey, we got Mothra, let's not do something Godzilla related, let's just do movies with her, and boom. And there's even a Rodan movie that has nothing to do with Godzilla. But anyways, this is the third one. This time around, we have Mothra having to face one of the biggest, most deadliest, and most powerful threats to the known, well-known, and well-rounded kaiju universe. So I completely might have forgotten and maybe didn't pay attention to who this was directed to, but I will, for Godzilla movies and any Japanese or kaiju or any Japanese related movies, I'll try and do the best I can to pay attention to the directors and their names, because they do deserve credit. But something you guys may or may not know about me that we don't really talk a lot about often is I definitely love me some Godzilla stuff. I would consider myself a fan. I do enjoy these monster movies from time to time. They're enjoyable, they're fun, and sometimes they have some really just good themes or just some good generalized stuff in them. And so yes, this is a thing that there was Mothra movies. It's not the most outlandish thing, but this one, I think, out of the 3 that they have, I think this one is the most zaniest and most outlandish in terms of its premise, because basically how this is all built up is that besides the kaiju story, because it feels like with monster movies, there's 2 different plots going on. You have the monsters that obviously they fight and they clash and they have their moments where this happens to this kaiju, this happens to this kaiju and stuff like that. And then you have the human story and the human plot to me, where you have your human characters and some other things that happen and some hijinks and semantics that happen there. So the actual plot is the 3 sisters, these 3 sisters that 2 of them are good, 1 of them is evil. The 3 of them have to kind of like unite to help Mothra stop this big threat known as the King of Terror. And if you are a big Godzilla fan, you might recognize or maybe get a hint of who the King of Terror is. And the reason why I point that out is because a little small story about this movie that I have. I haven't seen this movie in years, but I remember the last time I saw this, I was wee small, living still in Pennsylvania, and I think it was like a random day. Either it was a weekend or no school or something like that, and I remember being downstairs just watching TV. I go to the HBO channel and I found out there's a Rebirth of Mothra 3. I only knew of 2 of them because I own the VHS tape that has the 1 and 2 on the same cover, I think. If not, I have 2 of them. I have both VHS tapes. Either way, I only knew of the 2 that existed. So I was baffled to know that there was a 3rd one. So wee small, seeing this movie from 1998, which, by the way, I gotta say, for a 1998 movie, has really good effects, but then again, there are some moments that make me go, I smell PlayStation 2. So, anyways, back to the story. I flipped on it and I'm watching this movie, and the moment the evil sister says the King of Terror is coming, my eyes lit up. I almost fanboyed and screamed because I knew who was coming on screen. And the moment I saw 2 golden dragon feet rise and fly over like the school, like over like a local public school, I knew it was King Ghidorah that was the main antagonist and the main kaiju of this movie. And I just lost my mind of how awesome that is, because like he's like a classic iconic kaiju within the Godzilla universe, and I love King Ghidorah so much. He's probably the best Godzilla villain out there, next to probably a few others, but he's definitely the best out there. And let's just talk about King Ghidorah. Speaking of him real quick, he's got such a great design. I love this grand King Ghidorah look to him, like almost like old ancient Chinese dragon features, like the horns, like the whatever is going on with his chin, the spikes on his wings, just the textures on his scales look so good, so prime, so primitive. It's so much definition. It's so awesome, and just It's like, he's just so freaking cool. He's just so cool in this movie. And as much as it's so awesome that he's just in this movie randomly, there is two things to King Ghidorah being in this film. Is that one, it kind of feels fitting because the first movie, there was another Ghidorah called Death Ghidorah. So the first movie had a Ghidorah, and the third movie kind of finalizes the trilogy with another Ghidorah. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that it kind of feels fitting that Mothra would go toe-to-toe with King Ghidorah. Out of all the existing kaiju villains out there, she would face off with someone like Ghidorah, with how, like, she is symbolized as the guardian of Earth and the guardian of Tokyo, because technically Godzilla's not really the protector of Earth. He kind of sometimes seems and feels like it, but Mothra is more of the one that has all the light energy and has the light to her that makes, like, whenever like an average person would see Mothra fly in the sky, they'd be like rejoice with joy that, oh my gosh, Mothra's here, instead of fleeing away from Godzilla. It feels fitting for her to protect the world and the universe from someone like King Ghidorah. With the human characters, I think they're fine. There's a family dynamic going on where there's 3 kids. 2 of them get kidnapped. This older brother tries to protect his sister and brother from King Ghidorah, because this is another weird side plot or subplot where King Ghidorah has come back from whatever years later, because apparently King Ghidorah existed millions and billions of years ago, and he wiped out the dinosaurs 55 million billion years ago. He comes back and keeps getting reincarnated because King Ghidorah, with King Ghidorah, it seems like he always comes back. Which, I think that's the best part about King Ghidorah, is that no matter times he gets killed, there's always something where King Ghidorah's back, you know? This time, King Ghidorah's back. Anyways, he's back, and now he is trying to wipe out humanity. And for whatever reason, he's containing and kidnapping children. And I started to think that maybe he wants to feast on them. Like, maybe he wants to eat children. So that was my only thing, because he just swoops in, and then there's this weird visual effect where the kids just get sucked up. And it's so weird, too. But it's like, honestly, I had such a blast watching this movie. Like, I loved this movie when I was younger, and I still love it. And I love it even more with how much it's aged. Like, it aged for me, this movie has aged for me like fine wine, where it just got better, even if it looks kind of like a little silly, even if it's outlandish, even if it's cheesy at times, there is definitely still like a lot to enjoy with it. And a big thing that I think is hysterical, but I love it for it, is the fact that we have another situation where now, because King Ghidorah is too powerful, Mothra has to travel back in time to the moment King Ghidorah was annihilating all the dinosaurs from 55 million years ago. And it's so crazy, but it's so awesome. It's just, this is the zaniness I'm talking about. It's not so zany, but it's just like using time travel again, because there's at least been 2 other times that Japan and Godzilla have done time travel. And you know, the countless of movies within, just in pop culture, and just within the 1980s and the 1990s that had time travel. It's just like, it's stuff like that that's zany, but I love it. I just have such a blast with a lot of these movies. And sometimes there's very little and very few things that a kaiju movie could do that can make me hate it. But I am, for the most part, I enjoy a lot of these movies, and this one I think is my favorite out of the 3. I think it's just awesome because I think it has that King Ghidorah factor, but also just the fact it just kind of just has fun with it. It does all sorts of crazy stuff I literally enjoy. And for whatever reason, another thing when I was younger was when I saw Mothra Leo become blue, like instead of being orange and pink, she became blue. I thought to myself, this is a boy, right? And then all of a sudden, years later, I'm like, oh, it wasn't a boy. She was just still a girl this whole time, because there was a second Mothra that obviously evolved. And talk about, speaking of evolving and de-evolving, the evolutions in this movie and in this franchise, for sure, the different color palettes and the different designs and transformations that Mothra has. And there's like a bunch, or at least a good couple, that happen in here. And even with King Ghidorah, the Cretaceous Ghidorah that we see, like the prehistoric King Ghidorah, looks so really cool. And there's just so much cool stuff here. The music's so good. I love King Ghidorah's theme. I love the triumphant music when you have Mothra now returning from prehistoric times, kind of in this time capsule thing. And she's got this crazy, sick, metallic armor on and just kicking ass and demolishing King Ghidorah. Like that triumphant music, and I like some of the other scores that are used, and even that summoning song that the two sisters do to summon Mothra like a goddess. And speaking of the two sisters, something about their costumes in this are my favorite, and for whatever reason, they're my favorites. Like, their characters are my favorites in this movie over the other two. I don't know what it is. Something about their costumes. And also, I think the evil sister's name's like Belvira, Bellatrix, whatever it is. I love that even when you notice with the costumes, they got this giant zipper down their dresses, which I think that's a nice subtlety, because these are like these tiny little fairies, or these tiny like sorceresses, goddesses, worshippers. I don't know. I forget what they're considered, but all I know is that they're tiny, so they got these tiny clothes on, and of course they would have these giant ass zippers. So it's just, I just love this. And this whole thing where they use the Triforce, I mean, there's this thing called the Elias Triangle that they have with courage, wisdom, and love to try and stop King Ghidorah and try and power Mothra and make her reborn and then give her the power and energy she needs and the world needs, and just so much stuff I just enjoy. I love this movie. This is my favorite, I think, out of the three. I know this is weird talking about the third movie instead of talking the first two first, but hey, you know how many times we've gone backwards and forwards and in between stuff with how many reviews I've done? Hell, we've talked about the MCU, and we haven't even talked about I haven't even reviewed any of the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 stuff, and we're only been talking about the current thing. So it's fine that we go backwards and forwards and in between and all that other stuff. But I am going to give Rebirth of Mothra 3, I'm giving it an A+. I love this movie. I don't care if you hate it. That is perfectly fine. I could see why. Some of the visuals, again, are a little outdated. It is cheesy, but honestly, I don't care. I don't know. Sometimes there's certain ones that just stand out the most to me, and this one definitely stands out with how crazy it is. So if you guys have seen this movie, let me know in the comment section down below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please smash the like button. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I do awesome videos every day, if not every week. Make sure you ring that bell. The new videos every week. Share the video with your family, friends, all that good stuff and more. Leave some suggestions in the comments section. You name it, I'll look into it as best as possible. There's gonna be more movie reviews. There's gonna be some TV show reviews. We're gonna do top 10s. We got more streaming and game streams, all sorts of stuff. I will keep saying, and you guys will see, and more. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.